Hi, this is Ames Gross. I'm president of Pacific Ridge Medical, and thank you for attending the webcast today. Our speaker is Jade Lee, who is currently located in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. And Jade, thank you very much for staying up so late to give the presentation tonight, your time. So as the operator mentioned, if you have some questions, please submit them through the chat function. And at the end of the 1-hour presentation, we're going to have some questions and answers, and we'll try to go through those. So our speaker today, Jade Lee, is located in Ho Chi Minh. She's got many years in the device and drug markets in Vietnam. So Jade Lee, if you're ready to start, we'll start on slide 2, which is a table of contents.
Hello,
Yeah, go ahead, Jade.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Today I will have 1 hour talk to you about Vietnam's medical device market. There are 3 major topics will be covered. Vietnam market overview, regulatory, do business of medical equipment in Vietnam. Now I will go through with you on the first session, Vietnam market overview. Next, please. Where is Vietnam on the world map? You may have been to Vietnam. You may not been to Vietnam. So nowadays, Vietnam is attracting high foreign direct investment, as Vietnam has been one of the fastest growing economy in Asia over the past 5 years, just behind China. And then you will see more details on government, economy, people, and healthcare in the next slide. Next, please. Vietnam is known as the potential market with 90 million people, young country, and having said that, one of the fastest economic growth in Asia Pacific, just after China. For healthcare, all the hospitals have problems with overcrowded patients. Hence, the government encourage and support for private sector development. The government is also very concerned about people's health. Hence, they target to achieve 100% insurance coverage by 2015. Vietnamese people love U.S. products very much, not only in healthcare but also in other fields. Next, please. In terms of state management functions for the healthcare industry, Ministry of Health reports directly to the government, Prime Minister, and the Chairman. Each province, same as states in the U.S., has Provincial People Committee, and Health Department is under this committee. You will see clearer in next slide for healthcare system. Next, please. There are 2 healthcare systems in Vietnam. The first one, national hospitals, which has very strong influence to others. Also, they are as teaching reference hospitals to others. National hospital reports directly to Ministry of Health. The second one is the regional government hospital and private hospital. They are under the health service, belong to the province. Next, please. I would like to mention a little bit about insurance system. The government launched and expanded voluntary insurance since 2006 with the target to achieve 100% insurance coverage by 2015. Reimbursement is dependent on the hospital level, and patients will co-pay from 20% up to 70%, depends on what hospital they want to get treatment. Next, please. In terms of distribution system, medical device is much simpler. The local distributors can import directly, whereas pharmaceutical has to import it through a government importers. And then the second difference is that the foreign company can have a direct a branch in Vietnam to do import products in Vietnam. Next, please. Now I move on market overview. One of the key concerns from the customer is after-sale service. I mean technical support and maintenance service. Only big companies such as GE, Siemens, Toshiba have strong presence in Vietnam with strong support. The others, they don't have support enough to their distributors to provide good services after sales. Hence, customers always give high score in the tenders for the companies that can provide good service programs to the hospital. And the after-sale service is the key concern for the customer, the key success factors for doing medical device in Vietnam market. Next, please. So you will see here more detail on market size for each category of devices. The top three still are diagnostic equipment, therapy equipment, and disposables. So I just finished my first part of the talk, Vietnam market overview. Next, please. So now I move on the main sections of the talk, regulatory of medical equipment in Vietnam. Next, please. There are two departments that involved in registrations of medical devices. The first and most important one is the Department of Medical Equipment and Health Works under Ministry of Health. The second one is the Ministry of Science and Technology, which will only involve for device that is new technology and or the first time import to Vietnam. I will talk more detail in later slides. Next, please. So there are different responsibility, and one of that is to manage imported and exported medical devices. So for other responsibility, not really related to the company, so I don't mention for detail. Next, please. Okay, for medical devices, actually we don't need registration in Vietnam as pharmaceutical product, but yearly import permit application is required. Circular 8 dated June 2006 is no more valid. It is replaced by the new one, Circular 24 2011, dated on 21st June 2011. So in the next slide, I will go through with you this new guideline. Three things will be mentioned. The first one is product. The second one, enterprise to import. The third one, dossier and procedure. Next, please. In the past, medical equipment means only devices, equipment, but now definition is include consumables, disposable, software, and all of these affect human health. Next. There is no classification for medical equipment like in the U.S. In Vietnam, they will not bother class 1, class 2, class 3, and so on. For being easy to understand, I divide them into three different groups. Group 1 includes 50 items in the appendix 1 of the circular, and we must apply for import permit. Group 3, devices that need clinical trial for import permit application. The rest are listed in Group 2 and no need apply for import permit. The next three slides are listed 50 items in appendix 1 I will not go through with you detail. They are just for your reference. The list is modified and updated annually by Ministry of Health. So please move to slide 20. Slide 20, please.
Yeah, Jayla, okay. you can go a little slower. It's okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So the circular mention on 4 boys. So condition for enterprise allowed to import medical devices. The circular mention on 4 boys: legal, personnel, facilities, and labor. Either local distributor or limited liability foreign company can hold the import permit. If you decide to have more than one distributor in Vietnam, no worry, because different distributors can apply for import permits for the same product. The government requires all the medical devices imported to Vietnam must have Vietnamese label. The required information on label are product code, product name, quality standard, batch number, expiry date, backing, manufacturer name, production country, storage condition, importer name, and address. Next, please. Dossiers and procedures. What document needed for one dossier set? For the first time to apply for import permit, there are 7 items in the dossier. The difference on the old regulations are for items number 3, number 4, and number 5. In the box, you just need print out color scan copies of these 3 items and submit. But now, it must be original or notarized, especially for a certificate of free sale or FDA must be legalized by Vietnam Embassy in production country. However, for second application via the same importer, the documents are a little bit different. Next, please. For the second application, same importer, same products, no need items number 2, number 6, and number 7. But you need to copy the expired import permit. So are there any difference between making a renewal dossier and a new application? Actually, no difference. You have to prepare the same as the same document. So we just go through the dossier needed for the medical devices in Group 1, Appendix 1. How about Group 3? Next, please. For Group 3, besides the dossiers as same as Group 1, we need to accompany results of medical tests. So next slide, I will talk more detail on clinical testing. Next, please. Having said that, clinical test is required for medical device that is new diagnostic and therapy methods, and that is the first time imported into Vietnam. However, clinical tests may be exempted if you can provide enough clinical papers from other countries. So next, please. This is a summary on product and dossiers of the circular. So in summary, for medical equipment Group 1, you need 7 items in the dossier. For Group 3, you need, besides 7 items, you need clinical test results. For Group 2, actually you no need to apply for import permit. Now we move on the procedures mentioned in the circular. Next, please. For Group 1, very simple. You can get import permit after 15 working days from the date of submitting dossiers. You may ask if you can submit dossier electronically. The answer is no, maybe in the future, but not now. So how about Group Group 3. Next, please.
Yeah. So, Jade Lee, could you go a little slower, please? Because sometimes it's hard to understand your accent. So just try to speak a little slower so the audience can fully understand what you're saying. Your English is excellent, but if you could go a little slower, that would help the audience. Thank you.
Yes. So next. So it takes longer. You must apply for import permit of products that are used for clinical tests first. When result is ready, you can attach together with the dossier and submit. The time for clinical trial is unspecific. It may take 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year. So it depends much on the designated hospital and how well the manufacturer repair the protocol and works closely with the hospital. The cost is unspecific as well.
Can you just go through those steps here, Jade Lee?
Sorry?
Can you go through the 4 steps?
Okay. So for the step 1, so firstly we have to apply the import permit for clinical test samples, and then after waiting for the Department of Medical Equipment give the import permit for clinical test as a step 2. So step 3, the hospital will decide designated hospitals for clinical trials. And after clinical trial completed, the result come out, and then attach together with the full dossiers and submit to the Department of Medical Equipment again. And at this time, you can get the import permit after 15 days. So next slide. So list of a hospital designated for clinical trials. So all of this is the name of the hospital. All of these are national hospitals and mainly located in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. And then this decided by the Ministry of Health. So next, please. For the fees of renting import permits, actually it's very little, about $25 per product. So if more than one item is listed in unimported import permit, and then calculate as a separate fee. So next, please. Tax success. For medical devices, for VAT, mostly 5%. Some of the items, 10%. Most of the medical devices have import tax 0%, except some of the, such as disposable syringe, chairs, spare parts, aesthetics, up to 20% as the import tariff. And then I mentioned here, so one of the reasons is that the distributor has applied the correct code in the import cost to the correct product. Otherwise, the customer will not understand well what the product is, and then they will apply the import tax strongly, up to 20% sometimes. Next, please. Okay, so I just gone to the import permits for foreign medical devices. Now I move on the next section, medical device produced in Vietnam. For medical device produced in Vietnam, we do need product registration to Ministry of Health. And for import permit, is valid only 1 year. But for local product produced medical device, registration license is valid for 3 years. And it is a little bit more complicated. Next, please. legal documents for product registrations of domestic device. 6 items. And then the most important is announcement, the number 4, announcement of quality standards or announcement of standard conformity. Having said that, in the previous slide, okay, next slide, please. So for quality announcement for domestic medical devices, there are 2 different kinds: announcement of standard conformity or announcement of quality standards. For ASC, this one actually for higher risk devices, and this is referred to national level. And other one, AQS, for lower risk devices, more similar, and this one refer to local quality standards. Next, please. With this line, we compare between ASC and AQS. What's the difference? So having said that, ASC for national level, AQS for regional, local level. So next slide, you will see the registration procedures. When you have a dossier, you apply to Ministry of Health, and then you will get the license after 15 days, working days, and then the license is valid for 3 years, and you must renew registration no less than 30 days before expiration, and then the renewal dossier is the same as a new application.
So, Jade Lee, these are for domestically made medical devices?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Next, please. So this is a flow chart with AQS standard. So this is the most common for the existing factories here in Vietnam, because the local factories are very small, mainly simple devices produced or do packaging. So the procedures and document required is much similar and less time and cost consumed. The next slide, flow chart with the ASC. Because ASC is the national quality level, procedures is more complicated. It takes more time and cost. So if at least about 6 months from 6 months from the date to prepare. So firstly, you had to 4 steps happen. Had to go to the Institute of Medical Equipment and Work, evaluate of standard conformity, and then go to the next level, the national level, Directorate of Standards, and then the next go to Department of Medical Equipment from Ministry of Health. And at this level, hospital designated by to do the clinical trial, and when clinical trial completed, come back and submit the whole dossier to Department of Medical Equipment, and then you can get registration license after that. So next slide, please. Registration charge and fee for this domestic device a little bit more expensive, about $50 per dossier, and fee is the same for all devices. So next, please. For post-market surveillance requirement, actually there is no guidelines from Ministry of Health on medical devices. However, the Ministry of Health indicates some points as in the next slide, please.
So there's no post-market surveillance for domestically made products or imported products?
For both, for domestic and import products as well.
Okay.
And mainly, manufacturers and distributors are responsible for the quality of the product they produce or sell. So in the case of death or serious adverse events, the hospital had to report to their local health service and the Ministry of Health as soon as possible. After that, they must send detailed reports within 15 working days of the event. The inspection divisions will investigate the incident, questioning distributors and manufacturers, and come to the final conclusion.
So basically, it's the distributors that are responsible for reporting adverse events?
Yes, that's right. So next please. For IP protection, Vietnam, after joined WTO, the government and all request all the people comply with IP protection. So we comply as in other countries. Next, please.
Wait a second, Jaylee, I think we may be one slide ahead. I'm on slide 40.
40.
Yeah.
Can you next, please?
Okay. So yeah, here's
for IP
intellectual property, right?
Okay. For IP protection, as I mentioned, after Vietnam joined WTO, and the government have IP protection law in the place, so every people commonly had to comply with IP protection in the country. Same as in other countries. Okay, so next, please. Okay, so GMB in Vietnam for drug, yes, must obtain GMB who or whatever, but for medical device, GMB is not required so far. So next, please. Okay, so in this slide and the next slide, I will go through with you some tips for registration your medical device quickly in Vietnam. So the first thing is that use service agent for registration. If you you know well about the guidance, the circular, you combine everything in the place, but in Vietnam, relation is very important. If you come there and you submit there, it takes longer and more complicated. They will ask more paper, more documents, supply. So it's better to use the agent to do the service for you. The second one, register in advance because the permit is effective for 1 year. So not wait until the last minute first. And then your goods come in Vietnam will be stuck. The third one should register for all the medical devices, even those are not listed in the Appendix 1. So as I mentioned to you, there are 3 different groups. Group 1 and 3, we must apply for import permit. Group 2, we don't need to apply, but sometimes the custom don't understand well which one belongs to which one. And then they will make you very, very difficult to clear the goods from the custom. So I do recommend that you apply for all of the medical device, even not listed in Appendix 1. Next, please. To save costs, combine more items in one registration application. And then the next one, the final one, but very, very important one, you have to consider the name of the products among documents, ISO, catalog, certificate of free sale, name in registration forms and product categories of tax codes as well. And this not only helps you to clear the goods from custom easier, but also helps you to do in the tender, hospital, and other business in Vietnam easier. Next, please. Okay, so I just go through with you the second topic, regulatory. Now I move on the next one, doing business of medical equipment in Vietnam. Next, please. So after analysis of market environment, political, economic environment, and competition, some of implications to the U.S. medical devices. Having said that, after sales service really important in Vietnam. So you have to have the right presence in Vietnam for long-term growth. The second one, investment plan for machines placement is recommended for long-term growth. And then, having said that, the full insurance coverage. So you have to have good plans to repair from now. Next, please.
I'm sorry. So, Jade Lee, is the reimbursement insurance for products that are only registered or procedures that are registered? How do you get How do you get reimbursement on the insurance coverage?
Okay, so there are two ways. The first one is top-down. You do lobby and you do contact with, you work with the Ministry of Health and insurance company, and then they accept, they see the value of your product, and they list your products in the standard approved drug list in national level, and then they deliver the drug list to all the hospitals in the country. The second way is the bottom up. It means you use the normally national hospital level, and then from that, the national hospital see the value and the benefits of your product. They will submit the recommendation letter to the Ministry of Health and Insurance company, and then from that they get the approval. And from when the national hospital get the approval, and then other hospitals can get that approval as a reference to apply to those their hospitals.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
yeah, you can go a little slower because we have plenty of time.
Okay. So next, please. Business model. Actually, I would like to share this with you because this is very, very important to help you succeed in Vietnam. The first model, all the suppliers are outside of Vietnam. Actually, they don't know well about Vietnam. They haven't been to Vietnam. But in Vietnam, there are about thousands of local distributors. So the local distributors, they just approach the suppliers over the world to get the products in the country and sell to the hospitals. So in this case, because the suppliers, they don't know anything about Vietnam, and then they just sell the product to the local distributor without any support. And so in this case, because local distributor, they don't understand well about the product, they don't understand well about the supplier strategy, so that's why they cannot do well. And secondly, because the local distributor, they don't get support well from supplier, so that's why the result 1 + 1 <2. The second case, a lot of suppliers, they are big multinational companies, such as J&J, Baxter, GlaxoSmithKline. They understand, they see the potential market in Vietnam, so that's why they come here. They open the rep office here. They have their own team here to do marketing, to do sales, to do everything. And then they just use a local distributor to do physical distributions. So in this case, because the suppliers, they do well in their job. They understand well about the product. They understand well about the strategy. And then physical distribution is very easy job to do for distributor. So in this case, 1 + 1 = 2. And actually, I recommend you, if you want to succeed in Vietnam, you're looking for a business model that 1 + 1 = 11. So it means the local distributor will do whatever they have strong and understand in Vietnam market, and supplier will responsible for all the strong supplier have. For example, technicians, maintenance, education, and marketing support, for example. Next, please. This is an end user analysis. So actually, there are two different hospitals in Vietnam, government-funded and private hospitals. So under government-funded hospital, there are 4 different end users. The first one, the hospital, they have the right to buy things. They decide everything. They just organize the tenders. They buy whatever they want. The second one, actually the hospital, they don't have the right to buy. They don't have they cannot decide what they want. So if they want something, they apply to their health service. And health service is the one to organize a tender. And in this case, they organize a regional tender and they buy the things, the different things, and they deliver to different hospitals under their control. The third one, national tender. So for some of the projects, the the Ministry of Health have funds, and then they organize tender, they buy things for different hospitals. The fourth one, some of the strong companies, they want to sponsor devices to the hospital, so they organize to buy things and donate to different hospitals. For private hospital, there are two different: domestic hospital and 100% foreign investment hospital. For 400% foreign investment hospital, normally they prefer to buy devices from their home countries. Next, please.
Are there many foreign investment hospitals in Vietnam, Jade Lee?
For how many?
Are there many foreign investment hospitals in Vietnam?
Sorry, I couldn't get your point.
How many foreign investment hospitals are there in Vietnam?
Not many, less than 10.
Okay. Thank you.
So next, please. Reimbursement for medical devices. So having said that, the government's very concerned about people health. Their target that every people in Vietnam can get treatment if they suffer diseases. So that's why almost medical consumables are reimbursed by Vietnam Social Insurance. The government's insurance system determines the reimbursement level with selling price or package treatment reimbursement. And having said that, 2 ways to approach the product in the reimbursement list of the country. Next, please. terms of procurement, there are three different terms. The first one, purchase under $5,000 US. So in this case, the hospital director of the hospital can decide to purchase without tenders. Up to $100,000 US. With this level, the hospital can decide to buy things as well, organize the tender. With this one, actually the price is the key decision factor. So even if you attend the tender, your product is less than $1, and then you win. Another higher $1 lose. For the third one, over $100,000 US. For this one, have to organize tenders widely, and then after the tender has result, have to get approval from Health Service or Ministry of Health, and after those approved, and then the hospital can buy the product based on tender result. Next, please. Time of tender. There are 4 different ones. Haven't mentioned in previous slides. Individual tender, hospital open tender for itself. Normally, all the hospital located in Ho Chi Minh City, Hanoi, and all the national hospital have the right to organize individual tender. Regional tender, normally provincial hospitals, and in this case, provincial health department shall be the sponsor. National tender, of course, Ministry of Health, but sometimes Work Bank or other sponsor give the big donate amount to the government, and then they organize the tenders. And the fourth one, special tender for Army hospital system or some of the company as well. Okay, next please. So with this one, you will see who will be the decision makers of individual tenders. So in this one, this kind of the tender occupy about 70%. And then the hospital director is the key decision maker. Beside that, head of therapy department, head of medical device department also have the role to decide which product they want to buy. Next, please.
So, Jade Lee, who's the remaining 30%? You say 70% of the tenders are by these 3 people.
No. Individual tender occupy about 70% of the whole pie of tenders in Vietnam.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. Thank you.
Next, please. For regional tender, occupy about 20%. And in this case, the key decision maker is head of health department, and the next one have influence to decision is the hospital director. Next, please. National tender, head of project department from Ministry of Health, and then I don't mention here, but the main role, but behind Ministry of Health has very important role in the decision. Tender result is what the tender, the company that this Ministry of Health appoint as the main tender company, and the main tender company often have the hospital or the government have funds from other different companies or different countries, and this tender company has the right to choose specifications of the goods devices for the tenders. Next, please. This is the roadmap for tender succeed. You will see the most important different 5 steps. And then in this one, the most important step is the step 1 and step 2. So step 1, approval for proposal. It means the hospital get approval from its supervisor for the fund to buy things. And with this one, normally the hospital can apply and get the fund approval by itself, or hospital will use the tender company to do for them. And the second step, develop specification. So with this step 1 and step 2, if you want to sell things here, you have to approach, and then you have to educate your product to the hospital so that they can understand well, and then they will create your product as their standard demand and develop specifications in the tender file. Next, please. The principles for procurement decisions. Actually, there are 3 things for success in tender. The first thing, company competence and reputation. The second one, product quality and operable. And then the third one, after-sale service. I mean about spare part supply, maintenance, training. I do not mention price here. Is price very important? No. Many people have wrong concept that Vietnam is poor country and cannot buy premium products. But in the reality, no, Vietnamese people's behavior is that if they buy, they want to buy the best one. Their spending, provided that you educate them well on the therapy standards and create the market for your product. Okay, next please. Advertising. Every advertisement to consumer and to healthcare practitioners is required to get approval from the government in advance. If you don't get approval for your medical device advertisement, a money fine from $250 up to $1,000. In serious level, the government will withhold the company license. Next one. In this slide, I mentioned to you about what advertisement must include it in, and then the dossier for advertising consists of what document? Okay, next slide, please. This is all the legal base I use, and then I develop my dissertation. Next slide. Solution. Actually, Vietnam is the potential market, large market for medical devices for the next 5 years. So far, I haven't said that hospitals are overcrowded patients. So that's why the government call for private hospital set up. So that's why they favor for the companies, foreign companies, everyone to come and set up the private sector. So that's why medical device very potential in Vietnam market. The second one, registration for medical device is much similar document, less time consumed and less spending, and not complicated like pharmaceutical products. The third one, you should use service agent for registration for being faster and make you more leisure. The fourth one, plan for the year of 2015, 100% health reimbursement. And the last one, you should not attend the tender if you haven't done any activities before. Thank you very much for your attention.
Great. Jade Lee, thank you very much for that very informative presentation. We already received quite a few questions, so we will go to the questions and answers next. So why don't you take a sip of water, and then we'll go into some of the questions we have.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first question says, if you do not have a local office in Vietnam, can you only register through a distributor, or can you register the products in your name, or does it have to be in the distributor's name in Vietnam? So again, the question is, if you do not have a local office in Vietnam, can you only register through a distributor? Can you register the products in the foreign company's name, or does it have to be through a distributor and the distributor's name in Vietnam?
Yes. You can register your product through a distributor, and products must be under the distributor name, as this is an import permit, not a registration license like pharmaceutical products. So if you want to register it under your company name, you have to set up a limited liability company in Vietnam.
Okay, so I think the follow-up on that is, are you able to register devices in Vietnam if you're a foreign company and you don't have an office in Vietnam without a distributor? I mean, can you just go from the United States, send your application into Vietnam and get approval, or you need to have a distributor or your own legal entity there?
You need a distributor in Vietnam.
Okay. All right, the next question. What happens if you have a product name change? Do you need to apply for a new import permit? So again, what happens if you have a product name change? Do you need to apply for a new import permit?
Yes, you have to apply for new import permit as a new product if the product name change.
How about if you already have an import permit, but there's just a few small changes to the device? Would that also require a new import permit?
You mentioned about a little bit change. What is the changes?
Well, if the color of the device changed, the size, the way it looks.
No. So in that case, you don't need to apply for the new permit.
Okay, so if there's some small modifications, not a big deal. Use the same new import permit. You can use the same import permit.
Yes.
Okay, so the next question is, what happens if the manufacturing location of making the device changes? So what happens if the manufacturing location, I guess where the device is made, changes? What has to be done in Vietnam?
So the import license states just indicate the name of manufacturer and the name of the country. So if the location is changed within the country, there is no regulatory impact. You do no need to apply for the new import permit. But if the location is to change to another country, and then you need to apply for a new import permit.
Okay, so only if it's in a different country of manufacture.
Yes.
Okay, great. Next question. Please let me know, are all products firstly registered in Vietnam automatically for Group 3? Are all products first registered in Vietnam automatically for Group 3? I'm not sure what that question's about. Do you understand that one, Jade Lee?
Can you say again?
It says, I guess it's meaning, are all products firstly registered in Vietnam automatically? Class 3 products. I'm not sure what the question is. The person that's sending in could please send in some more detail. We'd appreciate that. Okay. So the next question is, though medical devices manufactured in Vietnam do not need product registration to be sold, what do medical device manufacturers have to comply with? Post-marketing surveillance or GMP? So again, I guess this is referring to medical devices made in Vietnam. Though medical devices manufactured in Vietnam do not need product registration to be sold, what do medical device manufacturers have to comply with? Post-marketing surveillance or GMP?
Okay. So I haven't said that in my presentation. Actually, for medical devices, no GMP required, and no post-marketing surveillance guidelines. So the only requirement is an announcement on standard conformity or an announcement of quality standards when applying for registration license.
Okay. Okay, so the GMP requirement is only for drugs, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Now, I just want to clarify, if a foreign company wants to export their devices to Vietnam, they need a Vietnamese distributor or they have to set up their own office in Vietnam. Now, so then the importer will get an import permit, and for the foreign company, they have to register the medical devices in Vietnam, or they don't have to?
They don't have to.
So just the import license.
Yes, they actually the local distributor will apply the import permit. That's it. The foreign company just provide enough dollars to the distributor, and then distributor will apply for import permit, and then you can export the products to the country already. Okay,
so in Vietnam, if you're a foreign company, you're exporting your product, you just need to submit enough documents so that the distributor or the importing agent has enough information to apply for the import license with the government.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, good. Next question. Can medical device manufacturers do any lobbying or do anything to get government reimbursement for their products? So again, can, I guess, foreign medical device manufacturers do any lobbying or do anything to get government reimbursement for their products in Vietnam?
Yes, they can do that.
So when they're lobbying, that's basically sending, let's say, people from the foreign company to the Vietnamese government to lobby for reimbursement?
Yes, I haven't said that in my presentation. So there are two ways. Actually, if the manufacturers do lobbying to the government, it will be easier than the local distributor doing, because the manufacturers understand well about the product, the benefits, and other things, and then the governments will be more reliable on believe more on the manufacturers. So this is one of the advantages to do lobbying for reimbursement in the country. And there are two different ways I already mentioned in my talk.
Okay. I mean, are there, is there any issues with kickbacks to get reimbursement for products or kickbacks to get your product into the country in Vietnam these days?
Kickbacks. What is
kickbacks is any side money.
Oh.
Paid to the government or paid anywhere to get reimbursement?
Oh no. No. What I mentioned is that because you had to do presentation on your product on what the benefit and help them to improve the patient therapy, improve their treatment in the hospital, the technology, and what's the competitive advantage? You have to help them to understand, communicate, educate them, or very academic driven, not paying money. No.
Okay, good. Okay, the next question is, if we, a foreign medical device company, wants to set up our own medical device subsidiary in Vietnam, what licenses are required? So again, if we want to set up our own foreign subsidiary in Hong Kong, what licenses would you need?
Okay, so 5 different one. The first one, investment registration. The second one, financial capability statement. The third one, chapter. The fourth one, corporate documents, and the fifth one, additional documents. Some of others, additional documents.
Okay, so these are the kinds of licenses you need to set up a subsidiary in Vietnam.
Yes.
Okay, the next question is, what is the language of the documents for registration, English or Vietnamese? What is the language of the provided documents for registration, English or Vietnamese? So basically, if a foreign company is sending documents over for the import license, can they be in English or do they have to be in Vietnamese? What's the situation there?
Okay. So all the documents you send, the foreign company send to distributor by English is okay. English, and then if needed, we will translate into Vietnamese locally. Except the certificates of free sale, that one had to legalize from Vietnam Embassy. And when you do legalize, the Vietnam Embassy will translate into Vietnamese for you.
Okay. Okay, how about the description of the product, or like the summary of the product? Should they always be attached to the dossier for the import license too?
For medical devices, actually no need the insert package. We just need very simple the uses and benefits of medical devices. That's enough. So that's when we take some of the information from the brochure or the manual user.
Okay, in that situation, is a technical description required?
Not really. Only brochure or manual, the manual user enough.
The user manual.
Catalog.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. We have a question here which says, what are the documents required for the import license? I think that was, you could find that earlier in the presentation. Do you know which slide that is, Jade Lee, for the import license, the documents that are required? Let me see if we can find that.
No, 21.
Okay. Let's refer back to that because the import license is so...
So 21.
Okay, let's see, 23, 2... Okay, so these are the required documents for the import license on slide 21 or 22?
21 and 22.
Okay, so the answer would be the application form, certificate of business registration, certificate of quality, certificate of free sale, the attorney letter for import and distribution from the manufacturer, I guess legalized by the Vietnamese embassy in the country of origin, product catalog, or I guess is that user manual, the technical description form, and then on next page 22, we have some other items that would be required to get the import license. Now, if certain documents aren't available Jade, are they able to substitute other documents for these requirements, or does the government strictly require these documents for the import license?
The government strictly requires for these documents.
Okay. Okay. All right, fine. All right, the next question is, what if you want to set up manufacturing in Vietnam? What do you do if you want to set up manufacturing in Vietnam?
There are 5 different documents. The first one, investment license from Ministry of Land Investment. The second one, environmental sanitation certificate from Ministry of Science, Technology, Environment. The third one, fire fighting and preventing certificate from Department of Fire Fighting and Preventing Police. The fourth one, validating productions and delivering system certificate from Center of Technical Audit. The last one, full conditions for production investigation certificate from Ministry of Health. After getting above license certificates. Okay.
All right, great. The next question is, are there specific requirements for the labeling? We talked about that in the presentation, but how about, what would you say about that? Are there specific requirements for the labeling?
For labeling, for Vietnam's labeling, actually we need some of the information I mentioned in my slide. Let me check. Slide 20.
20?
Yeah.
So that's not about the labeling. The labeling was later on.
Label of in Vietnamese version it includes product code, product name, quality standard, batch number, expiry date, packing, manufacturer name, production country, storage condition, importer name, and address.
What slide is that on?
No, slide 20, but I don't mention detail what information included required for label.
Now, is the label going to be in Vietnamese or English, or is there like an overlay?
In Vietnamese.
So the labels would always be in Vietnamese, no English?
For these labels, actually, the local distributor can do sub-label in Vietnam after they import the products in the warehouse. So this one they can do locally. Okay,
so normally the labeling, but they would put on a Vietnamese label onto the box or the bottle or whatever, whatever it is?
Yes.
Okay. Then, okay, good. So the next question is, can we submit dossiers electronically? Can we submit dossiers for the import license electronically?
Not currently. No, not now. But in the future, don't know yet.
Okay. So everything is in paper now, right?
Yes.
So now I have another question from the audience. It says, if the service agent will register the products, which additional documents are required? For example, is a power of attorney required? So if the service agent in Vietnam will register the products, get the import license, which additional documents are required? For example, do you need a power of attorney as one of the documents to get the import license?
No need, except one. No need except one. Introduction letter from the company to about the attorney letter to the person to submit the documents to the Ministry of Health. Yes.
Okay. Does Vietnam regulate in vitro diagnostic drugs or instrumentation, IVDs? So does Vietnam regulate, I guess, in vitro diagnostic drugs or instrumentation? do they have any regulations for those kind of products, IVDs, drugs, or instrumentation?
If the product contains a biological substance, it needs to be registered similarly as the RACs as pharmaceutical product with CPP or FSC plus GMB and local testing certificate. If it does not contain biological substance, then it is considered as medical device.
Okay. How about the restrictions now for bovine materials? Is there a restriction for bovine products in Vietnam? Bovine, some from a cow.
Oh, bovine.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's some restrictions, but you're not exactly sure which, right?
Sorry, I couldn't get your point.
I said, do you know the restrictions for bovine products?
Yes, I know.
Okay, can you share that with the audience, or?
Okay, for bovine, actually, very important. You see on the certificate, the ISO certificate or whatever certificate, what classifications of the product in the certificate. So if the product classified as medical devices, and then you apply the import permit as the medical devices. But if it indicates as the biological products, and then you have to apply as the pharmaceutical product.
Okay. All right, thanks. Are there any differences between making a renewal dossier and a new application? Are there any differences between making a renewal dossier and a new application?
No difference. Same.
Okay. So can foreign manufacturers in Vietnam distribute medical devices in Vietnam? So can foreign manufacturers, I guess, who have offices in Vietnam, are they able to distribute medical devices in Vietnam?
Yes, on the paper, in the regulations and the laws, the government said yes for medical devices. And then the foreign company had to set up the limited liability company in Vietnam. But in the reality, in order to apply the license in Vietnam, it's really difficult. And you had to prove to the government that besides the distribution functions in Vietnam, you have more activities in terms of the investment. For example, in the future, you want to set up the local manufacturer in Vietnam, or you set up the training center or other things in Vietnam besides distribution, the medical devices.
Okay, the next question is, do documents like a free sale certificate from the U.S. FDA need a Vietnam embassy stamp? So do documents like a free sale certificate from the U.S. FDA need a Vietnam embassy stamp?
Having said that, yes, the free sale certificate had to notarize and legalize by Vietnam embassy.
Okay, great. Next question. If clinical trials are required in Vietnam for medical device registration, who prepares the clinical protocols?
The clinical trials are prepared by the company.
Okay. I mean, now for the import license, are they accepting of foreign clinical trials, or they really want trials done in Vietnam?
They accept the clinical trial result from foreign companies, but that's on a case-by-case basis. Again, with this one, the company had to meet up with the Ministry of Health, show them the result of clinical the result, and then they are fine with that one. But no need to do clinical trial in Vietnam.
Okay. I mean, for clinical trials, in Vietnam, you need to get like an IRB or ethics committee approval? So for clinical trials that are being done by the company in Vietnam, do you need to get like an IRB or ethics committee approval?
No.
You don't have to get any approval for that?
No, no need.
Okay. Next question. Does a foreign manufacturer or distributor need to have a legal representative in Vietnam in order to register the medical devices? Well, I think we've already answered that question, that medical devices don't need to be registered. You just have to get an import license in Vietnam. I think that's the answer to that question. How long does the clinical testing for new diagnostics take, and what is the cost? How long does the clinical testing for new diagnostics take, and what is the cost?
Haven't said that in my presentation. For the time to do clinical testing is not specific. It may take 2, 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year. So it depends much on the designated hospital, how well the manufacturer bears the protocol and works closely with the hospital. And the cost is unspecific as well. So mainly the cost for samples to do. So the rest is not really important.
Okay. Okay, the next question says, in cases where medical equipment has new diagnostic or therapeutic methods and is imported into Vietnam for the first time, does the DMEHW accept clinical trial data from studies conducted outside Vietnam? And if so, what are the conditions for accepting foreign data? I think we talked about this already. Okay. So I think what you had mentioned before is that some clinical studies can be accepted from foreign countries. Okay. The next question is, if an implant or orthopedic surgery, like a orthopedic screw or an anchor, if it's made of a bioabsorbable material, would it be considered a drug or a device? Do you know that, Jade Lee? That's a pretty
yes.
Yeah. So if
medical.
Yeah, go ahead.
Medical devices.
Okay. So even if it's a implantable screw or whatever, and it's made of a bioabsorbable material, it's still a medical device.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next question. You mentioned that a free sale certificate from the country of origin is required. Will the DMEHW accept European CE mark of a device made in the U.S. that does not yet have approval in the United States? So basically, if the product is made in the U.S., but it doesn't have FDA approval, but it does have a CE mark in Europe, will that suffice in Vietnam?
Okay. So in principle, Department of Medical Devices will not accept it. But in the actual experience, you have to show the certificate and may prepare an explanation letter, and the Department of Medical Devices may consider and accept on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, so you're saying that in general the government will not accept it, but sometimes they'll look at a case-by-case basis. Yes. Because there's a lot of U.S. manufacturers that have products that are made here. They haven't received FDA, but they have received a CE mark in Europe. So some of those companies want to export to Vietnam, and basically, generally it's not accepted, but you'd have to look on a case-by-case basis. Yeah, and depends on what the free sale certificate. If you have the free sale certificate to Vietnam for that product in Vietnam, and then the government Vietnam also accept that. Okay, great. Next question is, what language is required for instructions for use and screen display for professional use? What language is required for instructions for use and screen display for professional use? For
instructions of use must be in Vietnamese version, and for screen display is actually preferred in English. Vietnamese is not required.
Okay, good. So the next question is, do the advertising requirements you spoke about, are they also applicable to advertising to consumers or to healthcare professionals? So do the advertising requirements you spoke about, do they also apply to consumer advertising as well as healthcare professionals?
Every advertisement is required for getting approval from Ministry of Health. So even to the consumer or to the healthcare practitioners.
Okay. Let's see. Next question. Do you need a new import permit if the manufacturing site changes? Well, we said if it's in the same country, you don't need a new import permit. But if the manufacturing location goes to a different country, then you do need to have a new import permit. Okay, the next question is there a formal reimbursement system in Vietnam? Is there a formal reimbursement system in Vietnam? Is there a formal reimbursement system in Vietnam?
Yes, there is. In the reimbursement scheme, it consists of the following box. As I mentioned to you, the government reimburses up to 80%, and the patient copay from 20% up to 70%. Depends on the hospital level they want to get the treatment.
Okay.
And the second point is that the government issues the essential drug list and medical device list to the hospital, and then the products, if the products not listed in this, the government approved list will not be reimbursed.
Okay. Okay. Is there a process for getting a new device reimbursed by the government system? Is there some kind of step-by-step situation?
Actually, haven't said that. The product list is updated by yearly basis. So if there are two ways. So the first way you go and work directly with the Ministry of Health, and then show them the benefits of your product. So if they approve and accept the product, and in the next round of updating the product list, they will update your products in the list. The second way, actually you can work to the national hospital, teaching hospital, who have very strong influence to the Ministry of Health. And in this case, the national hospital will apply and request to the Ministry of Health to input your products in the product list.
Okay. The next question is more general. It talks about doing business in Vietnam. Can you give us any cultural tips about doing business in Vietnam? And do Vietnamese in general like American companies or have bad feelings? So can you give us any cultural tips about doing business in Vietnam? And do Vietnamese people have any positive or negative things about U.S.-made products? Okay.
Having said that, the U.S. Vietnamese people love U.S. products very, very much, especially on the U.S. product that have FDA approval. That's one of the advantages when you do your products in Vietnam. And having said that, very important, you have to choose the business model and the right partner. So if for medical devices, the very important thing is that not the quality of the product. The important thing is the after-sale service. So if you don't select the right distributor, and you don't support your distributor well, and then maybe in the first 2 years, the business can sell and throwing, but after that, the business will down because the hospital, they will see the service after sales, and then they will see the way the distributor do, and they will terminate to purchase your product.
Well, how about the business culture in Vietnam? Can you talk about that a little?
Business
culture.
Business culture.
Yeah.
Business culture. Actually, for Vietnam, the first thing is the relationship. Actually, very, very important. And then very important. And then they very favor to foreigner. So if you are a foreigner, you come and you work with them, and actually they like very much. And so I mean that you cooperate between the distributor and foreigner, the manufacturer, to do business is better, get the best result.
Okay, I mean, do the Vietnamese people like French products because it's a ex-French colony, or?
They like foreign products.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Okay, Jade Lee, listen, thanks so much for your help with the presentation, the questions and answers. You did an excellent job, and thanks again for staying up so late in Ho Chi Minh City tonight. We really appreciate that. So we weren't able to get to all the questions. I'm sorry about that, but we tried to get to as many as we could. My name is Ames Gross. I'm the president of Pacific Bridge Medical. We will be sending out an evaluation form. We'd appreciate your thoughts on today's webcast and Q&A session, and we'd also appreciate if there's some topics you'd like us to cover in the future. So again, thanks again for attending the webcast today. Have a nice